All right, this is a demonstration of a Monopoly e-banking system that I've created using Python and Flask. This is a pretty sparse homepage, but we do have a sidebar here. Some of them are placeholders like the help page, and they go to just a placeholder for now. However, there is a login page available. There is no accounts currently created. We can actually publicly view all the accounts in the system. The reason this is done is just due to the nature of the game. We want to be able to view how much money people have. And so this allows an interface to do that. I'll show an example. I'll say, Hyperdrive guy, my name is Carson. And then I'll do like a password like yeet. And boom, we even get a prompt saying that if we want to save the password, it works out. And now on the main page, get a notification, logged in successfully, and then name, ID, and balance. But I can click on here and I can get a more detailed page. Because I was the first account, it automatically assigned me to be the banker. There's a property list that contains no properties. And then I have a full audit log here saying that my account was created at this timestamp. Now this is the local time of the server. It doesn't do any kind of handling for time zones because it's a game of Monopoly. If you're in different time zones, something's up. So money can be withdrawn because I'm the banker. I can withdraw $100. It just does it. I can deposit. Boom, I can deposit $1,000. Perfect. Now, I would do a transfer, but there's no other account available yet. And for now, there isn't a way to log out in the interface, but I'm going to change this here soon. I can just go to the logout URL, and now I get redirected back to the home page saying I've been successfully logged out. And so now some of the options on the sidebar have disappeared again, but if I go to accounts, name still shows up. I can see my account, but none of the buttons show up because I'm now an anonymous user. But I can see all the transactions that were just performed and when they happened. The reason I have this is for anti-cheat, basically. And so that's pretty neat. It's working out. Now this page I'm kind of proud of. It's all the Monopoly properties formatted in such a way that they look like the cards in the game, at least somewhat. So I can highlight over them, click on them, and they'll bring me to a page containing all the information about the car, who owns them, property costs, and the rent tiers. I can go back to the account. So there's not currently a way to buy via this interface, nor is there a way for the banker to assign them. But the backend code does currently support it using an API endpoint for each individual property. So I believe it's probably going to throw an error because this is going to be a GET request. But this does show it as a valid endpoint. It's just not allowed because this is a GET request and not a POST request to the server. But yeah, that's pretty much what I have here. I guess I'll show one more neat feature here. If I go to a page that doesn't exist, I get a placeholder page. There is also a now allowed page if somehow you manage to inspect element your way around it. It's meant to be pretty hacker proof if somebody wants to play smart in game. So that's how it works there. The software I have kind of separated into 4 separate things. So I have the actual server application, which is based on Flask and Flask login. I have some things to make things URLs. Some of these are admittedly dirty hacks, but this checking if URLs are saved, redirecting the user. This function is really useful. Render generic. It allows me to render what's called a Jinja template, which is how those dynamic pages are rendered. It's basically I can put Python into HTML wherever I'd like. So like the sidebar. That's a Python function I passed in. And then we have like these 4 statements here and blocks, which allows for some pretty neat inheritance. Like on the home page is pretty sparse. So all it is I change the title and I change the content. Some are more involved, such as the individual property page, where there's also a script block. There's let's see, individual accounts, which is pretty involved as well. So there's script here. I have one of them commented out for the moment because I'm looking at changing how server-side event works. But this is every single endpoint is here. I want to take more logic outside of the endpoints and put them elsewhere, so they're just function calls that you call based on the endpoint, and then just checking for certain user conditions. So for example, checking if something's logged in, if the user is anonymous. That's how this is all done. This is where that logic mostly happens. I have the account storage. This was what stores passwords. It stores them securely and it salts them and hashes them. But it's also tied to the same thing that has all the properties and who's the banker and database rights. Everything, those properties that are tied to users are serialized and deserialized in the SQLite database. I have a property and property manager here. So to load things into JSON and away from JSON. And then I have what I'm deeming the T log. It's the transaction log, but it also is what stores accounts. There's 2 different tables. It's the accounts, and then basically what that audit log is. And so it performs a SQL query on that table in order to get all the audit information for that user. If you don't want to go into the database yourself, which you probably don't. And then I have some stopping functions that allow for a safe stop, because the way it's set up right now is multi-process for some reason, even though there's not really a big benefit unless there's very high server load, which realistically will not happen. But it still uses a queue system. You call a method to put something onto the queue, and then even if your IO is backed up, it still enqueues it and then tries to continuously commit it. It's probably not the best thing to do here, but it's part of the system right now, and I've just been working on it. I haven't touched it in a while. But that's this code. There's some static. There's some JavaScript code as well. But most of it is UI related. I like to avoid JavaScript if I can. There is some that is styling, which is also probably better avoided. But also what's nice is everything is handled from a single, like just these 2 CSS files across the entire site, meaning there's a lot of reusability, and if this gets minified, it's pretty dang effective. So that is the Monopoly Evening Project.